panelists. So I'll start with, I want to start with the GM, Nasoda, since she's available. I want her to talk about how can governments turn these human rights discussions into real policy and action people can feel. So I want her to tell us something about that as she represents the government agency. You have the floor.
Good, good morning. Thank you so much for asking me first because I have to run off. Yeah. How can government turn? Sorry, I'm distracted a bit. How can government turn? Can you repeat the question?
Yes. How can government turn these human rights discussions into real policy and action people can feel?
Okay, okay. It's a real policy. Okay, so thank you again. Without wasting time, what we're doing here today serve as an example and a means of how government can put action into words and translate the discourse of human rights, especially when it comes to sign languages. It's also very instructive that the theme is not sign language, it's languages, which presupposes that there are several languages under signing. And to be honest with you, I believe that the exposure that we don't get on a daily basis is what puts one, a demand on government, two, puts a demand on families, and three, also this is a demand on individuals. Imagine, for example, that a parent has a classmate of their child who is deaf, and the child comes home and starts to excitedly share with the family. What that means is that child starts to learn how to sign. And after a while, before you know it, if they have a sibling in a different school, the sibling in turn starts to learn. That has nothing to do with the government's work. It has more about personal interactions that individuals have. So some responsibility is on all of us. Now in South Africa, which is an example I like to quote all the time, sign language is going to become a national language. And if I'm honest with you, if I have my way, the same way we have put Mandarin in our curriculum, I would also in turn include sign language because it is a global language. And when we don't have this amount of people in Lagos or Nigeria who themselves communicate, one of the reasons this day was established was to broker the space and promote communication. So with this many words of mine, that's answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that contribution. What you're really advocating for is to ensure that sign language is a collective responsibility. It's a global language and we want every other person to be involved. We should not just leave it for interpreters or those deaf communities. We have to learn the sign language and see how we can help our family members or friends or people around who will need it. So, like you said, you if you have the powers, you want it to be taught in our various schools. So it will be part of us. Thank you for that contribution. So let me go over to the next panelist. If there's any other question, I'll ask you. So now, so the next question goes this way. I will want to ask Mr. Yinka.
Okay.
Um, I'm looking at the legal parts and the human rights part. So the question here is, what legal and education education framework are needed to make sure sign language rights are protected from an early age.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe let me just say this. Imagine a scenario where you are an outside person and you are supposed to meet with other people in the same room and you are to have a common understanding of sharing. And you get there and all that you're hearing is Yoruba. You feel ostracized. That is saying that you are no longer needed. So why we say that sign language should be a human right issue is because it's about conversation, it's about communication, and communication is key part of human rights issues that we are talking about. And now it's not going to, when you say whether it's a legal issue, legal framework, it's not about legal framework alone. We could have a lot of legal framework. Let me share with you the Data Act. It's a legal framework that be here. The moratorium had gone. Beyond the legal framework, it's going to be a community issue. You don't just say it is why legal framework is good. I quite appreciate that legal framework is good. At least it set the tone for what we're supposed to do. But the fact also remains that if we depend only on legal framework or policy alone, we're not going to get anywhere. Like everybody has said, it has to be a community issue. Is going to be a village issue. And that's why at Center for Disability and Inclusion, we do not only rely on legal and policy. We work with all the community people. We work in collaboration with, because now we said that collaboration is a new competition. You can't do it far. You can't go far without collaborating with a lot of people. So it's going to be a community issue. It's going to be a something that brings all the stakeholders together. If we say it is going to be only legal framework, we're not going to get it right. Everybody must be there. Why we say that the legal framework is important, why I appreciate that legal framework is important, but I've seen where we have legal framework, and check all Africa, check all everywhere. UN policy legal framework have been there. How much have we gone with it? Even though it's a guide. So we can have a guide, but you can't have a guide if you are not ready to go with it. Since we have always 1 minute, let me stop here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us a very powerful insight to that question. Like you rightly said, to train the sign language is very important. It has to be a collective effort. We should not just rely on the legal framework and policy alone. We should try and see how we can work as partnership. Just as you said, that partnership is the new thing. We have to carry people along and continue with that. So thank you for that thought.
Thank you.
Now let's go over to